Assalamualaikum. Have a good day, everyone. Okay, so for today, I'm going to continue with chapter 4 on conducting survey. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so what is data collection? Data collection is a process of collecting data from different sources. Alright, so process of collecting data. Data is the plural form. Okay, plural form, and the singular form of the word is datum. So since you are going to have lots of data, so that's why you are using the term more than datum. Okay, right. So data are valuable information collected in a research or in a study. So when we talk about data collection, or collecting the data, you can actually collect data from primary and secondary sources. So let's talk about primary sources. So primary sources, you collect the data from the research instrument. Okay, from interview, questionnaire, observation, or maybe from experiment. Secondary sources are the data you collected from books. Okay, books, textbook, videos. Okay, alright. Online sources or non-online sources, printed or non-printed sources. Okay, alright. So primary is for the data from primary sources are basically specific to your study, while for secondary sources is usually the one that you have collected from reading. Alright. Okay. In collecting data, you also need to plan and write the questions for data collection. So if, for example, you want to collect data from questionnaire. Okay, questionnaire. So you need to design questions in order for you to collect data to get the answer for your objective. Alright, the objectives of the study. Once you have designed your questionnaire, the next thing you do will be administering the questions. Okay, administering the questions meaning that when you distribute the questionnaire, what you should be doing, how you should be doing it, okay, how you are going to handle the responses and whatnot. That is administering the questions. And last but not least is analyzing the data, okay, by presenting it, okay, in a form, and in what we call it, in oral form or in writing. Okay, so oral meaning that you are going to do presentation. Writing, for example, you need to write your report. Okay, right, next. So let's talk about primary data. Okay, as I said earlier on, primary data are data collected from your study. Okay, from your study. Okay, collected from questionnaire, from interview, from observation, from experiment, and so on and so forth. So these data, okay, these data are unique to your own study. Right? Next. Secondary data are data based on reading. You collect data based on reading. Okay, you gather the data from paper-based sources, okay, and also electronic-based sources. Okay, paper-based sources, for example, books, journals, magazine, newspaper. Alright, electronic-based sources, any online resources, okay, videos, websites, blogs, e-books, and whatnot. Those are considered as electronic-based sources. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide. Okay, in preparing research methodology, there are several things you have to do. The first one is to come up with the design, the research design. So there are two types of research design, quantitative, and qualitative design. Okay, alright, so quantitative means anything related to quantity, meaning we are dealing with numbers. Qualitative means anything related to information, details. Okay, for example, when you collect data from questionnaire, you receive the numbers, the percentage, that will be quantitative. When you receive details in in the form of information response, long, lengthy responses, that will be qualitative. Okay, next, in terms of sampling. Okay, for sampling, we talk about sample and population. I will explain further on this. Instrumentation, okay, how you collect your primary data. I will also explain about this later. And then you need to talk about the protocol, okay, how you collect the data. So the steps, how you collect the data. And lastly, data analysis procedure, how you analyze your data. Okay, right. So for sampling, the sample and population is big. For example, all the people inside of UTHM. Okay, sample, okay, the group of individual you want them to be involved in as respondents. So for example, UTHM have 15,000 students, your respondents, for example, only 100. So this number is your sample. Okay, right. So the sample that you have chosen must be the representative from your population. So if you want the population to be UTHM, you cannot pick your sample from, for example, college. For example, what do you call it? College Kesihatan Batu Pahat. Okay, you cannot take that because it is not representative of the population, which is UTHM. Okay, once you collect the data from the population, okay, via the sample, it can actually be generalized, okay, to the whole population. Your data which you have collected, okay, the information you collected from the data can actually be generalized to what happened in your population. For example, here in UTHM. Alright, next. Okay, for example, okay, target population, all KUC students. Specific population, first year, second year. And for sample, you only want to have 10% of first year and second year student of KUC. Okay, so this is your population and this is your sample. Okay, right, next. There are two types of sampling. There are actually a lot, but I will only focus on two types of sampling. Okay, we start with random sampling and non-random sampling. Random sampling and non-random sampling. Random sampling meaning anyone in the population can be chosen as your sample. For example, okay, all UTHM student. Okay, all UTHM student. Okay, is your population. So your sample, for example, you want 100 students. You do not have any criteria, okay, to choose from. So 100 students in UTHM is your sample, and you can choose it randomly. Anyone can be your sample. Okay, non-random sampling is when, for example, your population is all UTHM student. Okay. However, there are several criteria for you to choose your sample or your respondents. For example, first year. Okay, from FKMP only, for example. First year FKMP, and then, alright, only those staying in residential college, for example. Okay, so if you want to choose 100 respondents, you need to make sure that they are all from tally, okay, accommodate to the criteria that you have listed. Okay, so they must be first year FKMP students staying at residential college in UTHM. Okay, so that is non-random sampling. So meaning that you cannot just simply distribute your questionnaire, for example, or choose anyone to be in your interview. Okay, right? Next. Let's talk about instrumentation. Okay, as I said just now, It is for you to collect your primary data, your main data. So we have questionnaire, interview, observation, and experiment. Okay. So for questionnaire, okay, I think you all know what a questionnaire is. It is very popular. However, it's very difficult to design. So according to Narazman et al. 2009, it is a systematic compilation of questions to be distributed to an identified group of people. So identified group of people is your sample. Okay. Alright. Compilation of questions, because you compile the questions, put it in a set, and then you distribute it to the people who would probably be your respondents. Okay. It can be administered via survey, mail, telephone, and also in internet. Okay, so when you have to design your questionnaire, okay, usually you will have to pilot test your questionnaire. Pilot test meaning that you have to see whether you can get the response as it should be. Okay, as it should be. Alright, to see if you can get any weaknesses from the responses. Right? If no, then you can make use of it in the actual setting. Okay, let's talk about the advantages of using questionnaire. Questionnaire can be posted, email, and fax. And now you can even use WhatsApp to distribute your questionnaire. Okay, alright, so you don't really need to print it out, okay, and it can actually be distributed easily as compared to when you have to do interview, for example. So it can cover large number of people and of course wide geographic coverage. Okay, anywhere in the whole world. So you will get probably more than 100 if you want to. Okay, and it is cheaper and you don't need appointment to conduct, to collect data from questionnaire. Okay, when I say avoid embarrassment, it is in terms of the respondent trying to give the responses. So as it is anonymous, okay, it is anonymous, so they can actually just respond in whatever manner that they want. So it can actually help them to avoid being embarrassed, being shy, because when they are shy, they cannot give honest response. Okay, alright, so no interviewer bias, meaning that when you ask question, you don't know, since you don't know your respondents, anonymous, okay, whatever responses given to you, it doesn't matter, you don't know your respondents, so it is anonymous. When it is anonymous, you as the interviewer or as the researcher will not have bias towards your respondents. Bias means first impression that I don't like this person, so his data must be useless, for example. Okay, so no interviewer bias. Okay, right. Now let's talk about the disadvantages. Okay, though questionnaire has many advantages, the disadvantages mainly because of the design. Okay, in terms of design, it is not easy to design a questionnaire. Alright, because the questions need to be simple. Okay, the question needs to be simple. Okay, and since you are not there, okay, you are not there to give assistance. Okay, you are not there to give assistance to your respondents. Okay, when they do not understand your questions, you are not there. Your questions need to be simple enough for them to understand, even without you as the researcher to be there. Okay, right. In terms of the control, you won't know who is completing the questionnaire. It can be two sets of questionnaire. You can have two questionnaires, right? Two sets of questionnaire, but being completed by one person. For example, sometimes, right, you just give, I don't want to answer this questionnaire. You help me answer. Okay, you give it to your friend. Okay, your friend already completed the questionnaire. Now, representing you, he or she answered the same questionnaire again. So you don't know. So no control over who completes it. Alright, time delay in awaiting response. Okay, you may have longer time to wait for the responses, unlike interview when in which you can get the responses there and then. When you ask question, the response will be right after that. Okay, alright. And incomplete questionnaire will happen. Okay, for example, you may have like one page missing of the questionnaire, or maybe one question missing from the questionnaire, which is actually cannot be used. Okay, that set of questionnaire cannot be used in the list of respondents. You have to discard. Okay, delete, destroy it. Okay, you cannot use it anymore. Okay, when you have incomplete questionnaire, you cannot use the data of the remaining responses in your data, because it will be obsolete. Okay, it will be useless. All right, it will not be valid. Okay, right. There are several types of questionnaire. Several types of questions. Okay, one is open-ended question and another one is closed-ended question. Okay, in the questionnaire, there are two types of questions. Okay, open-ended and closed-ended. So for closed-ended, we have yes/no question, scale question, ranking question, rating question, multiple choice, and checklist. So what are these type of questions? Let's look at it one by one. Okay, open-ended question is the type of question in which you are actually asking for lengthy responses. So the why here help you to get the lengthy responses. Okay, so for example, do you like staying in College Perwira? If you stop until here, the answer will be yes or no only. So if it is just yes or no, then it will become closed-ended question. So it will not become open-ended question. But if you extend it by asking why, this will then turn into open-ended question, because you ask for reason. Ask your respondents to give reasons as to why they like, for example here, they like staying at College Perwira. Okay, similar to this. Which cellular phone provider do you use? Okay, so just short answer, for example, Samsung. No, not Samsung. Cellcom. Okay, one answer. You can even give them choices, multiple choice. Maxis, DG, others, for example. Okay? And they can choose from it, for example, Cellcom. So if you have this multiple choices, okay, type of question, okay, this is called closed-ended. But when you extend the question with why, it will become open-ended question. Okay, right. Next, let's talk about closed-ended question. Okay, closed-ended question is the type of question in which you have provided them with answers. You have provided them with choices of answers. Okay, the first one is yes or no question. Okay, very simple. The simplest form available for closed-ended question. So for example, did you watch television last night? Yes or no? Okay. Do you receive PTPTN loan? Yes or no? Okay. Right. Okay. No extended answer. Just this. So for example, later on when you analyze the data, you will get percentage for yes. For example, 60%. No, 40%. Okay. Right. So yes, no question. First one. Second one is the scale question. So for the scale question, you ask for opinion to a given situation. So when we talk about situation, it means statement. It's not question like open-ended question just now. And not similar to open-ended question, and also not similar to yes/no question just now. Okay, this one you will have to come up with statement. Okay, and the options for answer will be in Likert scale form. Strongly agree, agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. Okay, so the respondents will give you responses based on how much they agree or how much they disagree. Okay, alright. Sometimes in some questionnaire, the researcher will delete the what we call it, the neither agree nor disagree part. Okay, neither agree nor disagree in the list of option because they want the respondent to choose from positive responses or negative responses. So positive, like strongly agree and agree. Negative, disagree and strongly disagree. Okay, a scale question. Okay, for example like this. This is what I mean by statement. Okay, statement means sentences. It's not question. Okay, so when you're given statement like this, I change my handphone regularly. Then only you can choose, oh, I strongly disagree. Okay, for example, my hostel room is in good condition. My hostel room. Okay, for example, you agree. Okay, agree. If you put question, for example, do you change your handphone regularly? What will the answer? Yes or no, right? So that will not be scale question. That will be yes, no question. So for scale question, make sure that you write statement, not question. Please remember. Okay? Right. Next. Third type is checklist. Checklist meaning that you have the options and then you need to tick, for example, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can choose as many as you want. It doesn't necessarily mean you can only choose one answer. So you can choose more than one answer for checklist question. Okay, anything that is appropriate to the situation given, okay, to yourself. Okay, right. For example, okay, where do you get the information about a new handphone brand? Okay, you can choose more than one answer. For example, okay, you get the information from television and the internet. Okay, so when you get this kind of question, okay, you just need to know how many percent choose friend, how many percent choose this, this, and this, and this. Okay, you may not get the responses per 100 people because one person can actually choose all of this. So what you can do here is you total up and then you just convert it into percentage. Okay, all right. Okay, another thing I forgot just now for scale question. Okay, for scale question, try to use first person point of view, I, my. Okay, because you are trying to relate it to yourself. So the respondents can actually relate the situation to themselves if you use this kind of wording. Okay, remember that. All right, now let's go back. Okay, just now is number 3. So number 4, rating. Rating is like when you buy something from Shopee or Lazada, you are asked to rate the services, for example, 5 star, 4 star. That is rating question. Okay, so you can only choose one of the option. You cannot choose all. Alright, appropriate to the situation, you can only choose one option of answer. For example, how do you rate the condition of your current handphone? Choose one answer. Okay, is it excellent, good, moderate, poor, or bad? Okay, if you think that it is good, then you tick here. So again, similar to the previous question on checklist. For this one, okay, rating question, you can analyze it in terms of percentage of each responses you have here. Okay, on each response you have here. Alright, next, ranking. This is number 5. Ranking. Ranking meaning that you are given options. Okay, you rank it according to which one do you think is number 1. For example, this is number 1, this is number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So this is ranking. Okay, it may cause difficulty when you analyze the data because each and every one will have different ranking. Okay, so for example like this. Please rank the following criteria you use in buying a handphone. 1, most preferred. 5, least preferred. So for example, for size, this is, okay, for example, number 1, I will choose brand. Number 2, I will choose function. Number 3, price. Number 4, size. Number 5, coverage. Okay, so this is only my answer. Someone else might choose, for example, okay, you use function number 1, price number 2, brand number 3, size number 4, coverage number 5. This is, for example, respondent number 2. This is respondent number 1. Respondent number 3 maybe, oh no, I want the coverage first. So number 1, brand number 2, price, function number 3, price number 4, size number 5. Okay, so you can see here different people have different answer, right? Okay, like this one, this right. So when you analyze it, you have to analyze it according to option. So for size, for example, how many of them choose it at number 1? How many percent? Number 2, how many percent? Number 3, how many percent? Number 4, how many percent? Number 5, how many percent? Okay, and for price, number 1, how many? 2, how many? 3, how many? 4, how many? 5, how many? Same until the end of it. So it's a bit difficult because you need to analyze it one by one. Okay? Alright, next. Multiple choice. It's number 6, right? Multiple choice question. So for multiple choice question, I think you all know, you are given options and they can only choose one. So you are given options like this. So which one is the best? For example, suspend their services. Okay, it's the best way to educate the bus driver. Okay, you can only choose one. Okay, though you may agree to all, but the question here is to choose the best one, right? So this is multiple choice question. Right. Okay, we have finished on different types of questions in questionnaire. Now, let's talk about how you should construct the question. Okay, when you construct the question, number 1 which you need to avoid is avoid bias question. Okay, so bias question is a type of question that encourage participant to respond in a certain way. For example, okay, don't you agree that campus parking is a problem? So when people want to respond, they will answer definitely because you use the word agree, they will say agree. So this is bias in a way that you are directing them to agree to you. So make sure that when you have this kind of question, revise it in a way that it will be neutral. Okay, not going for positive. Okay, not going for negative. Okay, alright, so like this, is parking in campus a problem? Okay, next. Please avoid questions that assume or predict. For example, okay, there are many people who believe that campus parking is a problem. Are you one of them? So you're assuming that your respondent is one of the many people in the campus who believe that the parking is a problem. So you cannot do that. It is almost similar to bias question just now. So make sure that you make it neutral. Make it neutral. So how? Do you agree or disagree that campus parking is a problem? So when you have this kind of question, they can choose either agree or disagree. Okay, right. Next, double-barreled question. Double-barreled question meaning you have more than one question asked at the same question. Okay, for example, do you agree that campus parking is a problem? Okay, and okay, this is one question. That the administration should be working diligently on the solution. This is number 2 question. So which one should they answer first? Sometimes when you ask questions like this, it will be very easy that the respondent will probably just answer one question. For example, just question number 1 or maybe question number 2 only, but they will not answer both. So what you can do here is separate them. So you separate the 2 questions. For example, is campus parking a problem? If yes, okay. Number 2, what the administration do to solve the problem? Okay, so you have 2 different questions. So they will answer question 1 first, then only they answer question number 2. Okay, next. Confusing and wordy question. Confusing and wordy. Wordy means lengthy, long, too long. Confusing meaning, what do you mean by that? Okay, it may have double meaning kind of question, or it needs further explanation. For example, like this one. What do you think about parking? So the question will be in terms of what parking? Parking in Malaysia, parking in UTHM, car parking, bicycle parking. Okay, so many questions. So it's confusing. Alright, so what you can do here is you revise it, make it more specific. So what parking? Parking situation. Okay, so then only people can give responses. Right, next. Unrelated question. Unrelated to the question before that, or unrelated to the objective of your study. For example, have you ever encountered problem in the parking garage on campus? Parking garage, since when do we have parking garage in UTHM, for example? Okay, do you like or dislike the bus system? Why suddenly we are talking about bus system? Before this we talk about parking, and then now we talk about bus. They are unrelated with one another. Okay, so this is one thing. So this type of question should be avoided. Okay, that. So what is ideal in your questionnaire? What is ideal? So when you design a questionnaire, number 1, you should make sure that you have a cover letter. So in your cover letter, you will describe who are you and why the data are required. Okay, and you tell them that their information will be anonymous and we kept confidential. You need to provide your contact number, okay, and what the respondent should do after they finish answering, or what they should do as they are answering the questionnaire. Okay, I'll give the sample after this. Okay, so instruction for completion. Okay, this is number 2 that you need to have. So your instruction must be clear. Okay, must be specific. How they should respond to it. Tick, circle, cross, write, etc. Make sure that you give example. Example, tick, circle, cross, write. Give example on how they should be answering it. Okay, so instruction must be clear and complete. Okay, and number 3, in terms of your questionnaires appearance. Okay, it must be neat. Okay, easily helping you in assisting your analysis. Alright, so always try to maximize readability. Readability meaning that the way you choose your font size, font type, spacing, and everything should be systematic. Okay, should be chosen carefully. Okay, you cannot change font size, font type everywhere you like, here and there in your questionnaire. Everything should be similar. Okay, all right, that will be all. And the last one, okay, number 4, the length and the order. So the length and the order of your questionnaire, it depends on your objective. It doesn't matter. So if you think that the question, your objective can be achieved by just asking 10 questions, then by all means, just ask 10 questions. So usually in the questionnaire, you will have the demographic question. So this is usually the first part in your questionnaire. And the second part will be depending on your objective. Okay, right. Then last but not least, okay, number 5, ending courtesy. So just simply say thank you will be enough. At the end of the questionnaire, right, you write thank you. That will be enough. Okay, right. So let me show you the sample. Okay, your cover letter. Okay, you write the title of the study. Okay, your name, your code, your university, and then write the purpose of your study. Okay, this is fill in the blank and then you delete accordingly. Okay, right. This is explaining about the purpose of your study. Alright, this is the term of confidentiality and what is this? This is for the purpose. Okay, this is terms of confidentiality and anonymity. Anonymous, okay? And then, sorry. Okay, and then for this one, it is the action by the respondents. And this one, the last one is contact information. Okay, all right, done. Okay, so this is for the cover letter. Okay, so for example like this. Okay, so you start, okay, this is the introduction, the introduction. So you start with the purpose. Okay, this is a bit of intro about your study. Okay, you explain a bit about the problem, okay, and whatnot. And then you talk about the purpose of this study. Okay. And then you talk about confidentiality and anonymity. Okay, alright. Clear? Okay, then, okay, this is what we call as demographic question. Sorry. This is demographic question. Okay, alright, gender, faculty, year of study. Okay, alright, these are called as demographic questions. Okay, alright, then part B. Okay, questions related to your objective. Okay, anything that you want to ask related to your objective. Right? So you can have as many questions as you like. Okay, so this type of question, this is yes no question. This is yes no question. Okay, this one is ranking question. Right? See the previous one? See this one, and this is multiple choice question. Okay, this one yes, no. This one multiple choice. MC, 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 MC. Okay, all right. Then, okay, all right. This is what I mean by open-ended question. Okay, open-ended. All right, okay. This question is scale question. Okay, all right. Right, there's another one related to your objective for part C. Okay, question related to your objective. Okay, yes, no question. Okay, this is open-ended. Alright. And this is what I mean by ending with courtesy. By simply just saying thank you is enough for you to actually say and appreciate your respondents. Okay, right, done. All right, so this is the title of your study. Okay, so introduction. All right, okay, this is the action. Okay, action. And then this is the purpose. Purpose. This one is action. Okay. And then appreciation. Okay. Right. Please take care of your spelling, your grammar. Make sure no grammatical error, no spelling error, no meaning error in your questionnaire, because you're going to distribute it to people. Okay, if you do it wrong, then people will think bad about you. Okay, right? So demographic question. Okay, all these are demographic questions. Okay, and then questions related to objective. Okay, right? Okay, there are many questions related to objective. This one also question related to objective. Okay, this is what I mean to give clear instruction. Take. Okay, give example how to take. Okay, right. Next, there's another thing that missing here is probably the word thank you. Okay, right. Hopefully it is clear. The next thing that you might want to use in collecting your data is by using interview. So when you use interview as the instrument for you to collect the data, all right, the reason is because you want to know the motivation, the attitude, the preferences, the behavior, and the reasons why certain things happen that way. Okay, so the respondents are actually sharing their experience, sharing their belief, sharing their thoughts about it. Okay, all right, in words. Okay, because you are going to have two ways communication. They are not going to write it, they are going to speak about it. Okay, all right. So basically, use when you want to collect data, lengthy information, okay, which you may not get when you are using questionnaire. Okay, right. Next. So the advantages, good response rate, because you know when you do the interview, people will respond to it. Okay, when you distribute questionnaire, you may not get, for example, you distribute 300 printed questionnaire, you may not get all 300 responses. Okay, but for interview, if you interview 10 people, you get responses from 10 people. Okay, so good response rate. Immediate and completed responses. Okay, it depends on your skill of interviewing, however. Okay, but you get the responses immediately. You don't need to wait for the responses. Okay, all right. And you can use recording devices to record the data. And the sincerity of the respondents can be assessed through the use of tone, facial expression, hesitation, and whatnot. If you are lying, you can definitely know, okay? As a researcher, you will know, and you can always ask question, okay? Again and again and again, okay? Until you get the sincerest response possible from the respondents, right? Disadvantages, in terms of you need to make appointment, set up for the interview. Where, when, how you are going to meet each other and whatnot. So it is very time consuming and limited in terms of geographical area, because you cannot cover big area like other than the places that you can reach financially as a student, for example. Okay, so because it's also very expensive, because it involves you to move around to go and interview people, right? So lots of issues there. And respondent bias, because you are going to face it in a two ways communication. So the respondents might feel embarrassed, okay? All right, and when it is embarrassment that are involved, okay, the respondents will not sincerely responding to you, and the interview session might end early. Okay, so it is subjective in terms of analysis, okay, because it depends on how you understand the situation. The way you analyze the responses by the respondents will be different. Okay, unlike questionnaire, you get quantitative data, but for interview, you will get qualitative data. So depending on how you perceive the responses, the way you analyze it will be different. Okay, it will not be objective, it will be subjective. Okay, all right, there are several types of interview. Okay, 3 types specifically. The first one is structured interview. Structured interview is when you are going to give them standardized interview. Okay, standardized interview meaning that you will have set of questions. Okay, so you have set of questions, okay, plus sets of answers. You ask the question together with the answer, and then you ask them to choose from the answers given. So this is structured interview. Advantage will be in terms of analyzing it. In terms of analyzing it, it's easy. But disadvantage in terms of flexibility. So it will be the disadvantage, because the responses are rigid, very standardized. Okay, so people might get, the respondents might get irritated, might get angry. Why do you need to ask me question like this? Just give me the questions and I give the response directly. Okay, like that, structured. Semi-structured, okay, you have sets of questions, okay, but you do not have answers. All right, so you can ask the same question, okay, for your respondents. Respondent 1, respondent 2, respondent 3, the same question. However, you will get different answer for each of your respondents. It will not be the same. Okay, it will not be the same. Why? Because even though you are asking the same question, each respondent will give you different responses based on your own experience, opinion, and whatnot. Okay? Advantage of this, in terms of analyzing it. Analyzing it. It's easier for you to analyze. Okay, you can analyze based on question. Okay, all right, you can analyze based on question, and then you look for each of the respondents' responses. Okay, and it is also very flexible. Okay, flexible in terms of how the respondents giving the answer, and also you as the interviewer asking the question. You can actually ask more questions than what is listed, depending on how the respondents respond to your questions. Okay, so semi-structured is more flexible and easier to analyze. Okay, right. Unstructured, this is number 3. Unstructured interview, okay, is a type of interview where you do not have the set of question, and of course you do not have the set of answers. What you have is just the objective in your mind. The disadvantage is, since you are asking different questions to different respondents, the analysis will be difficult. Okay? Because the question change across respondents. Okay? However, it offers bigger flexibility. Very flexible. And the respondents might provide you with more honest responses, because it is like having a conversation with friends. Okay? Having a conversation with friends. However, the danger is when you forget to ask questions that you are supposed to ask to your respondents. That will be difficult when you analyze later. Okay? Right. So 3 types of interview: structured, semi-structured, and unstructured interviews. Okay, let's talk about the steps for interviewing. Okay. First, you need to identify your interviewee. For example, if you want to interview 10 people, identify the person, make appointment, set the time, date, place for the interview with the person. Okay? Next, do your homework. You can prepare a set of questions if you want to do semi-structured or structured interview, or you can prepare the questions in your mind, okay, when you try to do the unstructured interview. Okay, make sure that you learn all the terminologies and vocabularies related to the topic that you are going to interview on, okay, and always try out the questions with your friends and family so that you will not make a mess during the interview session. Okay, so during the day of the interview, arrive on time, dress appropriately. When you are using a voice recorder, make sure that you ask permission. Don't simply just record it. Okay, you are not making a prank video or something. Okay, make sure that you ask permission before you start recording. Okay, get to know the person before interviewing. Okay, right, and ask questions as many as possible to get extended responses. Extended means lengthy, long responses. Okay, like having a conversation, always let the person finish before you continue with your next question. Okay, right. Be attentive for the chance to ask follow-up questions. So, for example, when you don't understand the person, okay, wait for the right time for you to ask the next question to instill more responses. Okay, if the respondents give you ambiguous responses, okay, you can always ask back few questions so that you can get definite responses. Okay. So show your appreciation of time. Okay, you can give, if you have extra money, you can always give what, maybe some prize, okay, some money if you have more, okay, for your interview viewing. Okay, once you have finished with the interview, each interview session, make sure that you when you look back at your notes, okay, write any responses you have missed during the interview session, and try your best to start analyzing immediately after each interview. Okay, collect the data. All right. Okay. Last but not least, observation. So observation is for you to record behavioral pattern of people, objects, and event in a systematic manner. Observe. Observe mean you see, you smell, you touch, you taste. Okay, right? Observe. Okay, so in this situation, you observe the action and the pattern of behavior. Okay, alright. You can actually record your observation so that you can later use it to analyze the data recorded. Okay, may or may not require respondents' direct participation, meaning that you can actually be in the observation situation, or you can just be an outsider. That is what it means. Okay, there are several observational methods. We have structured and unstructured. Structured means you have checklist. You have checklist, you have plan on what you are going to do during the observation. Unstructured is you don't have any plan, no plan, nothing. So you just come there and observe. Whatever is, whatever phenomenon available, you just simply record it. Analyze it as it is. You don't have any plan. Okay? Right. So structured and unstructured. Okay? Right. Disguise or undisguised. Disguise meaning that you become the participant of the observed group. Okay, for example, if you want to observe students, you be in the group of the students. If you want to become to see what the teachers do in class, you become the teachers in class. So this is disguise. So undisguised, okay, this is when you are not being one of the participants, one of the respondents. Okay, you just sit there and observe, and people will know who you are. They know who you are. Okay, like when you are in school, right, there are practical teachers, right? There are practical teachers, and you can see the difference between only having the practical teachers inside and having someone else observing your practical teachers in class. Okay, the way you behave will be different, right? That's why people might behave differently when they know someone is observing them. So disguise is because you want them to behave naturally in class. Okay, right, in class or in the situation. Right, natural and contrived. Okay, for example, this one is how people behave in natural habitat, for example, in natural situation. And this one is when you bring them to a made situation. For example, you want to observe a chimpanzee, right? The real behavior, okay? You bring them to the forest. Then only you can see what happened in a natural situation. But if you want to observe a chimpanzee in a lab, for example, okay, this is what we call as contrived situation. Okay, right. Participant and non-participant. Okay, this is similar to disguised and undisguised just now. Okay. Right. Right. When you conduct an observation, it is the best for you to get the guide sheet prepared before the observation. Guide sheet means the checklist. Okay? Okay, identify what you want to observe so that during the observation you will not waste your time. And then always take notes during the observation. This is example of the checklist, or what we call as the observation sheet. Okay, you just make sure that you have all this and then check, for example. Tick, tick, tick. Okay, right. So these are the guidelines in ways for you to collect the data using questionnaire, what you should do from number 1 until the last one. Okay, interview, right? And also observation, what you should do. So basically these are the things you can actually include in your methodology actually. Okay, the things you can do to include in your methodology. All right. So see you guys next week.